Well, it appears that Candace Owens has drunk way too much of the proverbial anti-Jew Kool-Aid, or the Jew hatred Kool-Aid, I should say, with her going on a very unhinged rant on her show yesterday, denying the personal experience of Elie Wiesel, who wrote the book Night, a very renowned author and a very renowned and well-respected Holocaust survivor. And this is one of the things that I honestly hate when it comes to, if I can hate anything, it's hating someone's own personal experience that went through the Holocaust. And I've read a number, and I've actually interviewed a number of Holocaust survivors and had the privilege and the honor of doing just that. And listening to their stories and listening to their perspectives, it really does change your own perspective on life and suffering and things like that. And I cannot stand, I absolutely hate it and loathe it with a passion that people come around and in today's day and age, they try and deny and try and say that that didn't happen. They weren't even there. So why in the world are they going, that didn't happen? And Candace Owens denying Elie Wiesel's book, Night. If you haven't read that, you should definitely read it. And one of the things that I've noticed, I'm sure many of you have as well, is lots of the accounts are relatively similar with what actually took place. All of the authors' stories, it's their own, 100%, but the atrocities the Nazis committed during the Holocaust, they're all relatively similar to one another. And for me, I'm just like, well, that's how you know, because if it's more than just one person recounting this experience for all of us while they've got their own eyes and they experienced everything for themselves, they're all relatively the same. And for me, I'm just watching all this unfold with the amount of people that absolutely hate the Jews. They'll go so far as denying how many died during the Holocaust. People just go, oh, we bring up the 6 million. I actually think there was more than 6 million Jews. 6 million was just a number it's a rough estimate, right? But it's way more than that. But we just say 6 million. It's a rough figure that they pointed out, but it's actually a lot more considering, you've got gypsies, you've got all the other classes that Hitler decided to wipe out. But getting back to Candace, her going on this very unhinged rant attacking Jewish Holocaust survivor and renowned author Elie Wiesel for saying things in his book that the Nazis actually did. And there was a whole controversy surrounding it that people tried to remove, and they said that he was wrong about it. But if Candace would have done a little bit of research, just a little bit, she would have come away and knowing full well that lots of those people that went after Elie trying to disprove him, they were disproven, and historians actually came away vindicating Elie and saying that what he wrote about was actually 100% factually correct. And if Candace had done just a little bit of research on her laptop that's right in front of her, and there's a moment you'll see during this where she actually searches things up, and it's almost as if like she can't find what she wants, but she bullshits her way through it anyway. It is truly something else to watch someone like Candace Owens, the massive platform that she's got, lie through skin of her teeth to millions of people. And that's concerning. I'm all for freedom of speech, but seriously, there's got to be consequences to one's actions, especially when you deny the Holocaust. It's one of the most egregious things one person can actually do. While she's not outright going, I deny the Holocaust, she is indirectly going, I deny this personal experience because of, well, people back then trying to, what Candace is doing right now, trying to change the narrative, trying to debunk per se, because they absolutely hated Elie Wiesel back then. And it's truly sick. You've got to be a sick, twisted individual to try and deny a Holocaust survivor's personal story. There's got to be something wrong with you there, especially if historians come away going, he was right, this actually happened. Have a watch of Candace Owens here.
What if Epstein wasn't the end, but the blueprint? His network touched media, politics, and finance, exposing that isn't just about justice. It's about dismantling the system that protects him. I would love to hear your take. Yes, it's pretty obvious that this is a blueprint that has been it's kind of been happening for a very long time. And that's why I'm saying you're going to start to see elements of this, like Ukraine keeps coming up. These people are from that modern Ukraine that came into our country, a lot of the times under the guise of pogroms, a lot of times mentioning Elie Wiesel, the people that had the craziest Holocaust stories. And I'm telling you, I took a class at URI, and you could fact check this. I know journalists will. And I want to say it was my freshman year. It may have been my sophomore year. It was honors English course. And we were made to read Night by Elie Wiesel. My professor was a Jewish woman. And we read it, and it was horrific. I remember literally vividly being impacted by this story by Elie Wiesel, where he said that they took babies, like infants, and they smashed their backs against the walls. Like the Nazis did this at Auschwitz, and they, burned them in a pit. And then it came out that that couldn't have happened and that was made up. This kind of began the whole Elie Wiesel scandal. They had won these like Nobel Peace Prize, and there were calls for it to be revoked. This was back in 2008, 2009. And at the end of reading the book, she then told us that, but he made up these stories. And then we had to sort of, as a class, assess why someone would do that. And it was a really interesting class. And obviously she wasn't saying if the Holocaust didn't happen, to be clear. She was saying that some people were lying about what happened, and that some people, what would motivate somebody to do that. And when we think about the disappearance of the totally sadistic, psychopathic Bolsheviks, who, then went on and murdered like 60 million Christians and were never held account to it, it would be, I would say, a good idea to launder your names when you know that a bunch of people are leaving camps, to launder your names through those camps when there's so much chaos in the world and nobody knows who you are or where you came from. So that's just something that I'm just putting in your mind there, because that I never forget that class and being like, wow, why would anybody ever lie about something like that? It was totally, totally horrific. And yeah, it was a huge scandal, Elie Wiesel scandal, and I can tell you more about that another day. But it still felt, like I said, it was another Holocaust survivor who was the one that called him out on it. I could probably look up his name, actually. Let me look it up so I can fact check this live. Elie Wiesel. Nice. Got the guy's name. Let's see. Auschwitz survivor doubts Elie Wiesel's Holocaust past, a Hungarian-born Jewish survivor. So it was like literally survivor on survivor crime. And this guy was saying that he completely made up the story. I'm looking at so let me see what this guy's name is. He said that he stole the identity of a fellow inmate whose name was Lazar Wiesel. And this Holocaust survivor, his name is Nicholas Gruner, said that the person's whose identity he stole, he knew him because Lazar had saved his life. Lazar Wiesel had saved his life, Nicholas Gruner's life. And he spoke out and said, this guy is lying, and he stole the identity. So it was a massive scandal. Incredible. You can look into that yourselves, and we'll discuss that more later.
Huge scandal, but I'm just going to put it in your mind that this is the scandal that happened to Elie Wiesel, but I'm not going to tell you the aftermath of it. I'm not going to tell you that he was vindicated and his name was cleared, and the historians actually came away and said that, no, Elie Wiesel was actually right. He wasn't lying at all. This horrific thing did in fact happen. In fact, more horrific things happened that he didn't actually write about, but other Holocaust survivors have written about. And you got Candace just going, I just want to put this in your mind. Remember what Douglas Murray has said. What are you feeding, and why are you actually feeding it? Like, for me, looking at this, what is her objective? To just talk about the controversy of Elie Wiesel and just go, oh, wow, it's interesting that people lie about this kind of stuff, isn't it? But not actually talk about the truth or the facts. Why? To me, that signals there's quite a bit of hate, quite a bit of vitriol behind it. And I don't like it at all. And neither should you guys, because this show is all about telling the truth. If I was just to go out and say, well, Elie Wiesel, which is exactly what Candace Owens did, Elie Wiesel, his testimony was wrong. And I'm just going to put it in your mind that his testimony was wrong because he's Jewish and he lied about his experience in the Holocaust. Imagine that. Imagine what that's going to do to someone's brain. They're going to start ticking over. Well, what else did they lie about during the Holocaust? That's exactly what she's doing. No, Elie Wiesel did not make up stories about his experiences in the Holocaust. Night, his seminal memoir, is a widely accepted and studied account of his experiences as a teenager in Auschwitz and Birkenwald. While some critics have analyzed the literacy aspects of his work, including the use of symbolism and narrative style, there is no credible evidence to suggest that Elie Wiesel fabricated his experiences. There you have it. A quick, very quick Google search. And now that we've got AI at our fingertips, it is so much easier to tell who's lying and who's actually telling the truth. And it would appear, ladies and gentlemen, that Candace Owens is indeed lying. Historical records of Auschwitz-Birkenwald State Museum records assessed and verified multiple times since 2009 confirm Elie Wiesel's presence at Auschwitz with a prisoner number A7713. These records include transport lists, registration cards, and other documentation aligned with Wiesel's account in Night. Survivor testimonies, numerous other survivors and witnesses, including those who knew Wiesel during and after the war, corroborate his identity and experiences. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum and Yad Vashem, Israel's official memorial to the Holocaust, have repeatedly affirmed Wiesel's authenticity as a survivor. It's like, so I've got a number of Holocaust survivor books. For example, this one, Eddie Jaku. So he's got the number on he's passed away now, but this was one of the best books I read, along with Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl and the Choice by Dr. Edith Eger, and then also The Daughter of Auschwitz. There's heaps of brilliant accounts, and they're truly hard reads. Like, I could not put this book down, and I was actually going to interview Eddie, but he passed away tragically, which was a big shock to the system. I was looking forward to actually sitting down with him and having a conversation with him, but when I found out that he had passed away, I was like, oh no, that's horrific. But in saying that, I want to bring to light the truth. First and foremost, especially about the Holocaust. It's one of the worst times in human history to wipe out that many innocent people because of one man's hate. And nowadays, you've got so much anti-Semitism going around. So many people are trying to deny personal experiences. To go around and say that this man's story and countless others isn't real, or it's shrouded in controversy, that brings up a lot of red flags to me. Of, you should not be listening to someone like Candace Owens. Anyway, that's enough from me, but you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.